Hey everybody, welcome to EduMatch. Thank you so much for tuning in. So follow along with us at podcast with an s.edumatch.org/tweet talk, which you're obviously doing if you hear my voice right now. In addition, follow along with us on Twitter using the hashtag EduMatch. And speaking of EduMatches, you know you can be the featured person of the day. Just check us out at edumatch.org. Click the big sign up button on the top right hand side and just fill out the form and you will be person of the day. So I'm not going to lie, it's a little bit of a wait. However, you will be tagged with matches as they come up. And in addition to that, then we will put you on our awesome table. Other people will be able to find you. So good deal, good deal, good deal. So tonight we are going to be talking about robotics. And as you see, we have a phenomenal panel here with us that's going to be diving in. I wanted to, before we begin introductions, give a huge shout out to Lawrence, who is on panel with us today, because this episode was his brainchild. So definitely want to give him a shout out. All right. So we're going to start with introductions. So starting from left to right, as I see it on the screen, with Tracy.
All right, good afternoon. Happy Sunday, everybody. Tracy Bondi, Chief Technology Officer, Bay Area, California. Thank you, Lawrence, for the topic. I believe this is something I would want to chat about all day long. So love the opportunity to be aboard. Thanks, EduMatch.
Thank you so much, Tracy. It's so great to see you on here and welcome back. So love seeing you return to panel. Awesome, awesome. All right, so Nick.
Yeah, no problem. Welcome, everybody. I'm Nick Clayton. I'm a 4th through 6th grade special education teacher in Southern California, Victorville, if anyone knows where that is. And thank you, Sarah, for inviting me, and Lawrence for the topic. And I do robotics. I've done robotics for about 2 years now, officially, and unofficially for about 6 years now. So anyway, that's me.
Awesome. Well, welcome. Glad to have you here on panel. So it's funny how it kind of panned out. We have our people from California on one side of my screen, and we have the people from Maryland on the other side of my screen. So it's like East Coast, West Coast. So now we're going over to the East, and we're going to Lawrence.
Good afternoon. I'm Lawrence Toddy. I'm a math teacher at Dunbar High School in Baltimore City. I did robotics for about 7 to 8 years. Vex and First, or FRC, I should say, high school robotics. I'm glad to have sparked this interest in a topic for the Tweet and Talk.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that inspiration and welcome back, because we had you on a previous episode. So glad to have you back on panel. So thank you, Lawrence. All right. And last and certainly not least, we have Gino.
Hi, everyone. All right. I was just making sure that I wasn't on mute. I'm Gino Tagetai. I'm the Director of Science Enrichment for Baltimore City Schools. I support all our robotics programs. We have over 100 teams. That includes Junior FLL, Vex Iq, and Vex Robotics. And I've also been to a couple of world championships for robotics for Vex. I'm so excited about this podcast, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, thank you for being here and welcome to EduMatch. So great to have all of you here. Just wanted to give a huge shout out to Peggy, who is on YouTube Live chatting with us, as well as we have folks chatting on Twitter as well. So hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the first question. So for anyone who is new to robotics, they might be wondering what exactly is robotics or are robotics. So if you could please introduce the concept and also talk about what kind of initiatives you use in your program. So I'm going to go first to Lawrence for that.
Sure. So as a high school teacher, we had a robotics program that was a standalone program, an extracurricular activity, but also a course. And actually had 2 levels of the course, Robotics 1 and Robotics 2. And so it's an undertaking. It's a great task, and it's awesome for the kids that are in it. It's basically robotic competitions. The ones I have experienced were Vex and First. First breaks down into different levels. Vex has 2 or 3 different levels: college, a high school level, and then a sort of middle school, elementary school level. And then basically you're participating in competitions. You prepare for competition by building robots, programming robots, going through the entire engineering process with design and working with some mentors, depending on the program. And then you either ship, depending on if it's first, you will have a ship date where you have to stop working on your robot, and then you prepare for competition by packing up all your stuff. Or if it's Vex, you go to the competition on a Saturday and return, and then debrief and do this cycle that goes from, essentially, depending on when you want to start, from late April, 12 months, until another late April. First Robotics is another one. There's other robotics programs that exist in education. CPERCH is one of them that's really common, and I think that so I think it's just a great avenue for extracurricular student developments, particularly because the entire venture, while it's very STEM focused, it's not limited to just STEM. There's plenty of room for students who do not have sort of they don't feel connected to the STEM activities or STEM fields, but yet there's room for them. There's plenty of room for them. In fact, if you feel like your future's in something else outside of the STEM field, that you could still attach yourself or be involved in a robotics program and then get something out of it. And the robotics team will be able to use your talent also, no matter what team it is.
That is fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I am familiar with CPERCH. As I was teaching technology design applications in a high school. So I remember that was part of the curriculum there as well. So I think I saw Gino unmute at one point. Gino, would you like to jump in? Oh, I'm sorry, I think you're muted. Oh, Gino, I'm sorry. I don't think we can't hear you. I think you might be muted.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I was about to say I actually worked with Lawrence for a couple of years on our robotics program. Yes, it did say about multiple programs that we have for Baltimore City. We started growing the program for most of the schools during the summer as an independent summer program. And then as soon as students come back to their schools, if they enjoyed robotics, they actually asked to have team in their schools. And that's how we grew to a lot. I say a lot of our schools because we do have a lot of schools which doesn't have the program yet. So that's all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. All right. So Tracy or Nick, either one of you want to jump in with elements of your program? All right, Tracy, I see you unmuted.
Yeah, thank you. I'll go ahead if that's all right, Nick, and jump in. I am going to come from a different angle around the robotics. I really like the notion of introducing robotics in kindergarten. And some of that may not necessarily be the formal robotic team model that the guys are speaking about, but tied to math and programming. I believe it's a great opportunity to get our littles engaged with using some of those apps in the physical world in their classrooms. If they have the money to have Spheros and Bumblebees and the like, that's groovy. If not, I believe that with tools like a Chromebook and a Makey, and even an iPad, whatever they have in their environment, they can be really successful building robotic arms and moving cars. So I like introducing it early on, and then am really into trying to integrate it across the curriculum, primarily in math classes, because I think we have a great opportunity to do more programming in math.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks so much for sharing that. So there's different ways. What I'm hearing, there's different ways it can be integrated with different age groups. So fantastic. All right, Nick, how about you?
Just piggybacking on Tracy there. Also, from what I've heard, there's a lot of work with simple machines also in the little ones. So introducing like just simple constructed machines. The program that I use, Vex IQ, they actually start out with some simple machines in their program in the teaching side of it. But I started out with like I started out with kind of those same things with Sphero. I did a donors choose and got a Sphero robot, and we built like tracks and bridges and did engineering construction for that. And then I kind of got into, a couple of years ago, we as a district, we started getting into the Vex program, and just looking at that, and we were like, hey, why don't we have a robotics program? So we looked at Vex, and it had a lot of the stuff that we wanted. So we bought into the Vex IQ system, which is the it's kind of like a Lego version, and you snap the pieces together rather than screwing things in and building it with like metal pieces. But it you can buy robotic kits, and then you build the kits and then go to the challenges. And we started out the first year in our district doing a district challenge, and we had about 6-7 schools altogether. We have about 17 in our district, just elementary schools. And it was just kind of a test run thing, and it went really well. The kids were really excited for it, and the students love it. I started out with, I think, 8 or 9 kids in my program, robotics program, and this year I had 35. So they got really excited from the first year. This year we did a district wide, and we had all but 2 of our schools in it. And I had an all girls robotics team actually take first place for their day, which was really cool. And they got a little trophy, and they got their medals, and it's just something extra for students that may not be, sports centered or whatever, and they really enjoyed it a lot, and benefited a lot from it. And there's so many elements to their program. There's the competition, there's the engineering side, there's a programming side to it. So Vex has a programming, you can use it with Chromebooks, even because we're a Chromebook school. So I do a lot of programming. I do a lot of coding in my class too. So that kind of goes along well with what we do. But yeah, it's a fun program.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And you touched on something Peggy just asked in YouTube Live. So great question from Peggy. How do schools get funding for these robotics programs? So you spoke about donors choose. So has anyone used any other methods to get funding? All right, go ahead, Gino.
Oh, go ahead.
That's all right, Meg. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead, Nick.
Okay. Our tech committee just kind of went to our district, and we kind of did as a group, just to realize the need for extra funding. So we kind of just went to the tech committee with it. But yeah, there's a lot of really cheap, inexpensive things you can do just to get started. Like Tracy was mentioning, the makey and things like that. There's just some little things where you can just get it as a teacher. There's Ozobots or Ozobots, I don't know how to say it, that are really, really inexpensive. Even just getting, just a class fund or whatever to buy one of those, and just getting people introduced that way is a great way, inexpensive way. So.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Gino, what were you about to say?
When we started the program, I wasn't actually there when we started the program. FRC at Western High School, an all-girls school in Baltimore City. I think that's the oldest in the U.S. actually. We did have some sponsors like the Army Research Lab. So they gave us the initial funding to register the team for like the year and get some initial funding to buy our materials. And then over the year, even if the season just started in January and we finished building by February, as early as September when school starts, we did some fundraisers selling pizza and soda or snacks every Wednesday. And a lot of our parents actually donate a lot of those. So we kind of make money out of that. So by the time January comes, when the season is like starting, we have been fundraising for like the past 4 months, and it helped a lot, getting to competitions and buying some stuff that we need for a program. So that's in a school by school basis, of course.
Absolutely. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. So these are some great ideas. All right. So we're going to go to the next question. So when we talk about robotics, do you feel that it's best as a standalone program, or should it be integrated across content areas? And why do you choose the one that you choose? So anybody who wants to jump in on this one, go right ahead.
All right. Well, I actually was waiting for Lawrence because I was like, man, I want to hear from Lawrence. What say you, Lawrence? Come on.
Yeah, I was just about to unmute. I was thinking about this question. It's I'm a little torn because I've taught it standalone most of the time. I've actually did a standalone, but then I see where in different curriculums are introducing programming into specifically Algebra 1 in the I know the Eureka math curriculum Baltimore City adopted has some programming sort of as a method of teaching functions. They just introduce abstract programming as it's not a real language. And I could see how it could having that experience even with the earlier groups with the in kindergarten and up, that having that sort of structural experience as far as these are what commands do, this is what causes things to move, this is how programming works, this is what a computer actually is and does, and these are the limitations of that computer, is very eye-opening for students of all ages. I mean, when I get them in high school and I break them down as to, okay, your computer can only do what you tell it, and that sort of short circuits their mind for a second. And they're like, what do you mean my computer's dumb? How is my phone not smart? This does not compute. So that sort of eureka moment, I think it's great, not just in a robotics program, but I do think it can apply in math, science, and maybe even in humanities. Some of my best robotics students have been students who really wanted to do something in humanities or in the social sciences. So I haven't seen it taken out of a STEM course yet. So I'm not going to say that, it can't be done, but I've definitely see it done standalone. That's where most of the time I see it. And when I say standalone, I'm saying robotics. This is a robotics course, a robotics program. And I'm not going to count C-Perch, because some physics teachers will introduce, or like Sarah said, she introduced it in a technology course. And I've had students who were in a physics class and they did the C-Perch underwater robot, and I'm still like, that's still sort of in the STEM family. You're just a little offshoot. I'm talking about, I want to see robotics in art class, or robotics in English 9 or ninth grade English, or that type of that stretch, that multi, that cross curriculum connection would be the next challenge, I think. So I
know that with Ozobot that you did for art class, that you can actually draw with those robots and program them to draw out different things. But I use it for research. I use it for writing. My students actually have to journal as they program the robots, as they build the robots, so they're using it for writing there. I know that Wonder Workshop with the Dash and Dot robots, I know they have lessons in all different curriculum. You can have them speak and have them interact and do a play. So there's a lot of different uses depending on the programs, but even just being able to adapt whatever robotics program you're using to different curriculum, there's a lot of different ways to do that. And even coding, I mean, the coding aspect can stretch across a lot of different curriculums. So
yeah. And Tracy, I know you were saying something a little earlier as well.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to add on that, I think we're trying to integrate all of these various things that we're super passionate about. And I will tell you that in my travels, I am really encouraging and pushing robotics and programming connected to math as a way to potentially hook those students that don't get excited about math because they don't see the tangible real world potential beyond money, obviously. So I love always the idea about integration, and I'm always thoughtful about integrating for the sake of integrating. Like Lawrence, I was thinking about that English 9 integration model, and that is definitely going to be a challenge. So I know for myself, I think I've been a little safer in that I've really talked with teachers K-12 about utilizing programming with robotic outputs with math in particular.
Robot Shakespeare. You can have the robots talk. Do a robot play.
Oh, I like that. So like robot Romeo and Juliet. That would be super cool. I'm with that. So Gino, how about you? Think you might be muted.
Not bad. That's always been challenging to integrate robotics with other disciplines, but for us as a district, we've been trying to tie them all together during our summer programs, where we try to provide students with a pathway to engineering or calculus in high school, and teaching them advanced math at the same time, doing robotics as enrichment, just to keep attendance up and making them more interested. Um, my experience is the Vex and Vex IQ platforms. They paired up, for example, with Project Lead the Way, cross curricular maybe, or they develop curriculum for robotics with other applications as well. In health, for example, with Project Lead the Way. So they can do that. The other thing is first Lego League and Junior First Lego League. They usually tie up robotics into problem solving. For example, like last year's challenge, all about water and all those stuff. So I think that is a good tie up as well. Although it's still in science, but it's a different, like it's not really that the same as coding or building or engineering. It's also about environmental causes and stuff. So I think that's a good tie up too.
I know Tracy said trying to get people more excited about math, but I think, and I'm being serious, I know the Shakespeare, the robot Shakespeare sounded like a joke, but like that could get the kids that are more focused on science and math to like maybe the other side, the humanities more. See, there's another side to that.
Absolutely. I'm loving that crossover. So yeah, and I'm loving everything that you all shared just now. So that is fantastic. There are definitely benefits to both. So great. All right. So we are going to move on to the next question now about something that a lot of you already touched on, but would really like to just explicitly ask the question: what benefits might students gain from learning robotics? So what are some things that our students might gain from this? Gino, go ahead.
Thank you. The biggest thing for us, actually, like Tracy was telling earlier about for kids who might not be that inclined in sports, we provide an opportunity. The Vex and Vex IQ that they shared are actually platforms where they can compete. So it feels like the robotics team is also a sports team. And when I was at Western, we've been actually really proud that we were the only team in school who qualified to a world championship, to qualify to a state championship. So a lot of things kids can take away from it, including how to work together. So teamwork is really important in building a building a robot. Staying in the program, you have your ideas, others have their ideas, so you try to like come up with something and work together. So that's really important, and they can be as competitive as they want to be in robotics as well. So yeah.
Absolutely. I remember the high school where I was last working, there was a huge robotics team there. And I mean, it was just so competitive, just the traveling and the competition. So we're actually going to get to the question about the competitions in just a moment. But Lawrence, what do you think?
So I could go on. for a bit about this, but I'll try not to. But since Gino mentioned Vex, I'll talk about first, which goes from the junior Lego all the way up to the FRC. I think that what they would like to say at first is that robotics is the what is it, the hardest fun you'll ever have. So there's a lot of productive struggle with students who are learning to build a robot for the first time. So you're building in sort of diligence with them, problem solving, of course. Depending on the age group, they get to learn to use power tools. These are all some of the basic things that a kid is going to see. But from a teacher, what you see, or from an adult family member, you see that you besides the teamwork and collaboration, you see them able to communicate at a higher level, to be able to express themselves, whether it be written, writing essays to win essay competitions, or try to write to sponsors to give you food or money to participate with your Saturday all day or your sometimes all night build sessions, for the high school kids. Now for the younger kids, the same thing could happen. You could still be, the fundraising that we talked about before, writing a letter or an email to your local fast food place or your local whatever business to say, hey, we're doing this in our community. We would love if you could partner with us. And that's completely not STEM related. That's completely outside of the whole engineering as far as, math. I'm not building a robot. I'm writing a letter. I'm communicating in a professional manner for fundraising, for getting you to believe in our organization. And that's an important skill to have. Besides, and then when, we'll talk about the competition later, but then, the kids can express themselves in so many different ways. It's really a safe space for them to be in an environment where they're expressing their knowledge, and they can pursue more knowledge and go deeper into something and find like-minded kids, and find this community around a bunch of students who are trying to be as high achieving as possible, in this field. And they can then become, they can talk to each other, and they already do that enough with social media, but now this is something with an actual sort of healthy tether to it, I want to say, where it's like, hey, we're all, robotics team members, and we all have the similar experience of this new game and this new challenge, and how are we dealing with it? How are you handling it? What did your team do? What did our team do? I like your t-shirts. I like your t-shirts. I love your hats. You like our pants. Let's do this really weird dance together, or let's team up. All this stuff, all this kid stuff that happens, is the whole, that's the whole community. And so that's that space that it's really hard to simulate that somewhere else. It's like, I don't want to call it an amusement park, because that's not really anything close to it, because at an amusement park, you're really not hanging out with kids you've never met. You're hanging out with your people who brought you. But in robotics, you're just meeting new people. And it's amazing to see how they, how things happen. It's almost like a reaction inside of a nuclear reactor that's contained. And you're like, I've had a kid make so many bunch of friends with all these different teams from different walks of life, and he knows them by name, and they're going to pick us for the playoffs. And I'm like, how did you do this? I didn't even see you do this. He's like, oh, I just went and did what I do. And now we have all these allies and friends and partners. And I'm like, well, that's just fantastic. And I didn't know how to put it into words, but I gave him a big high five. So that's really like, it's really the community part. That's like the unspoken, the unmeasurable quantity of robotics.
Yeah, absolutely. Community is so strong. Like when it comes to everything, really. Like us as educators connecting right now, like that is powerful for me. Our East Coast, West Coast panel. So that is awesome. All right, Nick, I saw you unmute.
Yeah, I think first of all, excitement is a big thing. I with a lot of the programs going away from when the funding all went away a few years ago, more than a few years ago, but it just seeing something to get them excited is a big deal. But I also had, it became a reason for some kids to actually come to school and start to learn. I had a student who was actually escaping the classroom at some point when he was in his general education classroom, and he couldn't do any of the work, couldn't read. There was a lot of things going on in his life, a lot of trauma going on. And when he came to my classroom, all of a sudden it's just something clicked, and robotics, he's a pro at it. And he actually went to the competition and he got 6th place, and he was a little disappointed, but that it was something that actually kept him in his classroom and got him to start to work and learn and motivate him. So that was a big deal for that student. That was a good story. So anyways.
Yeah, that is a great story. A lot of times when students feel that wind, and then that makes all the difference for them. So absolutely. So, all right. And Tracy, how about you?
So I'll touch on I think one of the benefits of working in robotics, regardless of grade and output, is failure. So we're asking our kids to change so much about the way they approach their schoolwork. And then we obviously, as educators in the room, are changing the way that we teach. So you talk about 0 to 60 and learning how to navigate failure. Throw some robots in the middle of the room and let kids tackle that as a team collaboratively, and amidst all of the tears and cursing and challenging that will come out of it, they sure will learn how to fail fast.
Yep, that definitely builds that resilience. Absolutely. So definitely. So here I'm hearing y'all mention a lot about competition. So for any of you who have done the robotics competitions, tell us a little more about what happens at those events. Like what's it like?
I can go. All right. Sounds good. Okay. So we started out small, just doing it with a few schools. So it's a good thing just to get like something in there, just to start out and try it. And not try to go like maybe not even try if it's the Vex. If you like have a outside competition, maybe just test it out once, or go and see the different competitions and then bring it to your school. But we've started small and just kind of built from there. And we're going to try to go in other districts next year, but really just building up amongst your schools and amongst your district, I think is a good way to start as far as competition goes. If you're trying to get into robotics, even just among classrooms, showcasing the robots. So.
Absolutely. And Gino, I saw you unmute as well.
Hi. So like I said earlier, kids can be really competitive, and we try to tap into their competitive nature in order to come up with the best product. So, so the Vex and IQ actually are built around competition. So the platform itself is built around competition. There's a world championship happening right now, and they also released the game during the world championship. So for both Vex and IQ. So overall, the teams all over the world just build robots all year to play the game. So they do that repetitively. I mean, compete against teams from different levels. What happens in the competition is you have like anywhere from 16 all the way to like 100 teams, where they're actually like paired up randomly to go against 2 other teams, and they determine the rankings and then does a playoff and stuff. But it's a lot of fun for kids because they actually learn a lot from competitions and how to improve their robots the next season. So it's a really, really good, place not only to gain some new knowledge, but you also get to speak to like experts in their field. So these competitions, they actually invite like engineers or professionals in STEM that kids can talk to. So they're the ones asking the kids questions about the robot design or how they can improve their robots. So yeah, it's awesome.
That does sound awesome. That sounds amazing. All right, Lawrence, I see that you're unmuted.
Yeah, I just wanted to like add on the the perspective of like, you know, what it's like if you just were to walk in and you have no attachment to anything. You just see a lot of energy, excitement. You'd hear some music. Um, you'd see a lot of really engaged kids. Even if you brought your own kids looking for something to do that's free on a Saturday or even a Friday and a Saturday, if it's a first competition, something that'll be fun for them. You know, you're going to come in, you're going to be in an arena or a high school or an elementary school. You're going to see, you know, robots all over the place, kids doing whatever. There's going to be a whole bunch of questions. Like you said, the Gino mentioned the engineers or the people from the STEM fields who come and they may be judges for the teams, and they'll ask questions to the kids about their robot and how their design process was and what their challenges were. And then if you're just an outsider watching, trying to inspire your own children, I mean, you'll see for both First and Vex, you'll see cheering sections, you'll see T-shirts, you'll see cheerleaders and pom poms, and you'll see, you know, shouts of joy. You'll see, you know, the agony of defeat. I don't want to do the whole corny thing, thrill of victory. But one year I remember for our first FRC, the big robot competition, I got a school bus for some of the students that I was teaching to come to the event. And I said, okay, you're going to come to this event from 12 to 3. And I'll grade you if you show up, and there'll be transportation at the school. So even though the competition was downtown Baltimore, so it's like less than 2 miles away. So most of the kids knew how to get there on their own. These are high school kids. These are like 10th, 11th graders. So then I didn't expect any of them to show up. And then when we got out there in the afternoon, we looked up and we see, you know, 50, 60 kids from our school who were not on the team who showed up to cheer us on. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. And some of them were in my class. Some of them had heard or had friends who were in my class or you know, dealt with people who were on the team. And so I just thought that, you know, then they filled the room they filled the Dunbar team with energy. You know, like at a basketball game, if you'd imagine you know, how the home crowd is at a basketball or football game, and you have that energy of the supporters behind you. And I just felt like that's like that competitive feel for something that, while it is competitive, it's also collegial. So I just think that, you know, it's such a great environment for all kids of all ages, especially if you're a parent and you want to get your kids into something that's safe. You know, you take them to a free robotics competition and see what happens. Watch the magic, essentially.
Yeah, and you talk about competition. Vex is competitive, but it's a challenge based, so it's not them fighting against each other like battle bots or anything, but it's challenge based. So they're both trying to like help each other out while they score. So it's a great system that it basically promotes teamwork and collaboration. So that's a great thing about Vex as far as what we found about that competition.
Yeah, I wanted to say that, and thank you, Nicholas, for mentioning it. It's not battle bots. They're not destroying each other. They're trying to accomplish a task or solve a problem, and there may be two teams that are competing against one another, but they're not trying to outright destroy the other robot. So it's not inherently dangerous in that way, where there's a saw blade, you know, cutting through someone else's robot or something else ridiculous like that. They're trying to, it's sort of like the robots are playing a game, whether it be soccer, basketball, something like that. And they're trying to, you know, score more points than the other team. And something like to that effect. So I just wanted to make sure I added that part. And the excitement is just from, you know, just like any other sporting event.
Wow, that sounds like there's a lot of energy that comes with those competitions. So that is super, super cool. So just wanted to chime in on YouTube Live. Then Taylor says, I think students need to understand competition because we live in a competitive world. It's especially competitive in engineering and science. So thank you so much for sharing that, Taylor. That is an awesome point. All right. So for one more question that we have, and I would like to kick this one over to Tracy because I saw your tweet with some amazing resources. So what resources can you share for any educators who want to learn more about robotics? So Tracy, what do you say?
Well, I would encourage teachers and parents, administrators, etc., to look at some of the resources that are available via Twitter, Facebook, Voxer, etc., with Project Lead the Way. A super expensive program, but very rich in resources, all the way to some of those free resources you can get with Scratch accounts in collaboration with Harvard Education. And those run on Chromebooks, and you can do them in your kinder class. In addition, always, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Maker Faire. So there are maker events happening all over the country, and that really drives it home for all of the different kinds of creators we have out there. Maybe you're not into robotic competitions because it's just not possible where you are in your journey. But there are other ways to be really innovative with robotics on a very tight budget in all of our different communities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing those. Those are a great place to start. Anyone else have some resources that they would like to share? Okay, well, I know that we talked about a lot of them already today, so so fantastic. Thank you all so much for just your amazing insight. This has been such a great discussion. There's been a lot of conversation going on Twitter as well as on YouTube Live. So thank you to everyone who has back channeled with us. Just great information. Really looking forward to getting this episode out there as a podcast, video and audio. So edited, all that good stuff. So look for that to drop within the next upcoming weeks. And in addition, just a couple quick announcements. So next week, same bad time, same bad channel, we have Seth Bridges, who is going to be moderating a great episode on content creation. So it is open to anyone who wants to sign up and be a panelist. So all of our panelists, you are welcome to return if you ever want to. And anyone else who's watching and or listening, just go to podcast.edumatch.org/sign up. And you'll see the list of episodes that we have coming up. In addition, wanted to give a huge shout out to Dean Gainey for having released The Why in You, Journey to the Why in You is the full title. So the very first EduMatch solo book, which was released at the beginning of the month. And next month, we are going to release Brian Costello's The Teacher's Journey. So that is currently available for pre-order on Amazon. So huge shout out to the EduMatch authors. We also have more amazing folks who will be dropping books. Yes. What was that, Nick?
I bought his book and his shirt, so I just had to shout out to him. He's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, we love Dean. Dean is just amazing. So, and shout out to all of the EduMatch authors. So really excited for the upcoming projects. So, so everyone have a wonderful week. Hopefully we see you back next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. So everybody take it easy. Thank you all so much.